On this episode of the ABB podcast, we've come back to London, Ontario to hang out with Mr. Kevin Kennedy of the Dyadics. How's it going, man?
Good. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you. It's got to meet you for the first time when you came down to Windsor and we shot the video, which will probably come at the end of the week when we release this podcast.
Very cool.
Love the tune, just love the style, the sound, love what you guys are doing. Cool. And that's probably as much as we'll talk about the music, because I really just want to get to know who you are. I wasn't aware of the band until Jeremy originally called me up. And one of the ways he sold me, which is probably one of the ways you get sold a lot, is, hey man, he was the guitarist from Neverending White Lights.
Yeah.
Daniel's a friend of mine, so I was very excited to meet you and kind of get to know all this. But I want to start with you the same way I start with everybody else. Talk to me about the house you grew up in. I want to know about mom and dad, brothers and sisters, all of that stuff.
Sure, yeah. I've got, I'm middle child.
Okay.
So I've got two brothers, one older, one younger. Sports family, so I grew up playing sports a lot. Hockey.
Here in London?
Sault Ste. Marie.
Oh, North boy.
I'm a Sioux boy. Yeah.
Okay.
So, and then played traveling hockey and soccer, and spent the summers outside. And
was hockey serious for you, or was it just a fun thing?
No, it was serious. Yeah, up until a certain point. Like I played on the traveling teams.
Yeah,
and that was a great time.
Sport, like when you say sporting family, was it just participation sports, or was it like where mom and dad push you kind of?
No, they were very supportive of anything we wanted to do.
Yeah.
So if we wanted to go into sports, then they supported us in that. When I wanted to go into music and do that stuff, they were supportive of that too.
How young were you when music started?
I was grade 8.
So really early.
Yeah. So my brother, I have a story about that. My brother came over with his buddy, who played guitar, and he played this jazzed up version of "This Old Man."
Okay.
On this old beater guitar we had in the house, and then.
And that was enough?
That was it. That was my hook. So then after that, I wrote my mom a letter and I said, I need to go figure out how to do that. So wherever he's doing that, put me in lessons there, so I can figure out how to do that. But then that took me a couple of years to get to that point.
Do you know what it was about it that sort of that grabbed you?
I think I just thought it was so interesting that they could make This Old Man sound so...
the fact that it was mundane and now it wasn't mundane, that's the part? Okay.
I was just that's so neat that you can do that with a song like that. And to hear that guitar that just sat there all of a sudden sound, because I always tried to just read a couple of things, and my uncle and my grandpa played guitar. So there's always a guitar around and sing songs and stuff like that. So that guitar was there, and you try to strum a chord and that kind of thing, but that was the spark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So did you get serious about it right away?
Serious to get to that point, and by the time I got there, then I was hooked. Because then after that, there was another tune I wanted to learn, and then at that point, you're in high school and you have buddies, and everyone wants to start playing music together, so you start getting into the rock side.
So bands did come that quick for you?
Yeah. High school, yeah.
Okay.
I had a really supportive music teacher who did these lunchtime concerts, and it was awesome. We called them, it was Sir James Dunn was the high school, and they were called Dunn Plugs at that time.
That's great.
Yeah, Mark Goff was the teacher, and it was around the time that MTV Unplugged was going, right?
Sure.
So they had all the series, like Nirvana and everything going on. So we had these lunchtime concerts, and you grab an acoustic guitar and you do this, but then it got popular, and he wanted to put a CD together. So then we started doing rock stuff, and he recorded it and produced it, and then we did a little tour in Sault Ste. Marie of all the high schools and played this.
That's awesome.
So
you got lucky. You got shown right away that you could turn it into a thing.
Well, yeah, I realized after how awesome that was to have that support, that musical community.
Do you have other people that were in that sort of group of musicians that went on to take music super seriously?
For sure, yeah. One guy, Dano O'Shea, he's the drummer.
Dano's been on the show.
Oh yeah.
Dano's a really good friend.
Yeah. So Dano and I grew up together.
Okay.
We went to the same high school. We played in rock bands together.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, so actually, I just got him to come down to London, and we hung out recently. So
he's been on the show. Yeah. He's a really good guy. Yeah. That's funny. So he came out of that same class.
Yeah.
That doesn't surprise me at all. Do you guys are there more of you that I should fucking know about before I start traveling around? Because we're going to the Sioux in the summer.
Oh, I'm sure there are. If I
it wasn't putting you on the spot.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But Dano's the first one that comes to mind just because we've hung out recently.
Yeah.
But there's definitely others. Yeah.
Were you a music fan?
Like growing up?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I was always into music. Like, my buddies were all into rock music, and all of them were into different stuff, and some buddies were really into hip-hop, like 90s hip-hop stuff.
Okay.
And then the metal stuff and rock stuff, and then I was really into classical. So, yeah, I was a huge...
Like classical music? Like,
yeah.
Really?
Well, especially classical guitar, but classical music in general.
Okay.
Yeah. But...
growing up in the city, because like coming from, and this is starting to be a bit of a running theme on the show, but coming from Windsor, we didn't get exposed to Canadian music, right? Because we fell outside of that CRTC content rule. So I didn't, like, I still to this day don't feel like I have a real grasp on Canadian music, but was that something that you paid attention to up there?
I feel like I missed out, the big wave of 90s CanCon stuff. Like, I missed that wave. I think it was big Southwestern Ontario because Matt talks about it all the time and the bands that were big. And I know some of them came to the Sioux. Like, I remember Our Lady Peace and I, Mother Earth doing a show, but, like, it just wasn't, like, I just didn't make it. Like, it wasn't, like, hyped in the way that it seems to be, like...
Well, the reason I bring it up is one of the first things that I noticed when I did start traveling and started traveling specifically in the north was that the radio stations up there are not content specific. Like you'll get a hip hop song next to a country song next to an adult contemporary song.
Yeah, and a lot of like classic rock stuff. There's a lot of classic rock
mixed in.
Yeah.
So did you like? How do you sort of feel about your music, your background in musical exposure? Because like in Windsor, and this is what I'm comparing it to. In Windsor, like I didn't realize people didn't. Like that people left genres. You were either a metalhead or you were into like it was one or the other and never mixed.
Like I feel like I was exposed to a lot, but I was definitely more when I started getting into rock stuff. It was definitely more metal. I can't say that the radio was like a huge influence.
Okay.
Besides the classic rock side, like my dad's big into classic rock, and so I feel like it was always around. Mm-hmm. But we definitely missed out on some of like the trends in the 90s stuff that was circulating around. I don't think we got it as much as other places.
So what was grabbing you? You started getting into metal. What era?
Well, I was a big Metallica fan, so like early Metallica stuff, and then just down that path and Maiden and Pantera. I loved Pantera growing up.
Was there a music scene in the Sioux?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there's only so many places to play, and then if you want to go tour and stuff, then the distances between spots are, further.
So when did music become more of just the thing you were doing in school?
I think when like my buddies were jamming, and hockey started getting in the way. I also tried football out and I broke my wrist, and then it was like if I wanted to go do it again and I broke it again, I couldn't play guitar kind of thing.
Right.
And I knew that guitar was way more important to me than football, so that was one. And then another one was like a Saturday, like I think my buddies were jamming, and I was like, I can't do it because I got to go to hockey practice or something. And then I was at hockey practice and thinking like, I'd way rather be jamming. So I think that was the thing. And my parents are super supportive of that. They never tried to obviously push me in one direction. But my brothers they were big into football. And
okay.
My younger brother went to university for football. And did really well and everything like that. But, music was definitely my draw.
What was the goal for you?
Music related?
Yeah.
I think growing up, I just wanted to do something with music.
Didn't know what,
but like all my friends were going to university. So I knew I wanted to do something with music, and I knew I could do that. So I just followed music to university so that I could just do something with music. Yeah.
Just for no other reason than you didn't know how.
That's what I was interested in.
Yeah. So what did you end up taking in university? What was that path like?
Guitar. I studied guitar.
Yeah?
Yeah, and then I went into education, so teaching. And then just...
You became a teacher?
Yeah.
Is it just music, or do you teach...
Music now, yeah, just music.
Right.
But up until that point, everything. Because when you're young, you just teach.
Why teaching?
I enjoy teaching, yeah. Just teaching other people how to play guitar and trying to inspire them.
When was the first time, like when did you know that was a piece of what you like to do? Because it takes a certain person. Like I know a lot of the hang out in your bedroom kids, kind of guitar kids, that fell in love with guitar, but they don't spend a lot of time, passing it on.
I think people were good about showing me stuff, so I think probably in university at some point you had to decide which direction you wanted to go, and a lot of friends were doing education stuff, and then I think the biggest thing was. I taught at a camp in Connecticut with friends of mine. It's called Bucks Rock Camp, and it was for famous people's kids, like Kevin Bacon's kid went there, Jamie Lee Curtis's.
Okay.
These kinds of people. Not that matters, but I think
it makes it interesting.
Yeah, but when I was teaching there, then I think that's when I was like, oh, I could do this. I could teach guitar. But even before then, I was private teaching.
Yeah.
So I knew I could teach, and I enjoyed the private teaching side. But when it came time to pick a path, music playing music takes a while before it's paying the bills. So education was the path. And
so did you get out of university and just get right into teaching and kind of play music on the side, or was it?
Well, my first year teaching was also the starting of Neverending White Lights.
Okay.
So I started teaching.
Fun year.
Yeah. So my first semester was my first semester teaching, and then second semester I went on tour with Daniel, and we did all the Neverending White Lights stuff for that semester and the semester.
Talk to me how that got started.
That was I was playing in a band in London called Ice Water, and it was like my university band. We started off as like cover band, and then started writing originals and made a couple CDs. And Matt was the drummer, and then someone else was the drummer after Matt. But the bass player in that was playing bass with The Weeknd, and Jason Pierce was drumming in The Weeknd. And Jay was the guy that got in touch with Daniel. And then I think we just went down to Windsor. It was just kind of like, I don't even remember the conversation, but it was very like, just like, hey, you want to come to Windsor and play on these tunes or something? And I think we were just trying out the tunes in the studio. Like the CD was obviously like Daniel does everything, right? So the CD was already, or the album was finished. I'm trying to think. It must have been released at that point. So it's really to put together like the touring act, right?
Oh, right. Yeah.
So then we just went down, and then that was it. I think we played shows. That was like maybe September, October, and we were doing shows in November, and then.
Talk to me about your experience with Daniel, because like I love Daniel. I've got to become pretty good friends with him, but he's very particular. I think he'd be the first one to tell you that. He's really particular when it comes to music and with the musicians that he deals with.
Well, yeah, I think he just holds himself to a very high standard, and I think the music that he puts out is at that high standard, so it makes sense, right?
Was it intimidating?
No, because Daniel's very. I find him easy to work with. Like we work together very well. We've worked together for years, so I don't think. No, I wasn't intimidated. It was just like I think I just wanted to do a good job and like, do the music justice when it came out live.
Yeah.
So
because and the only reason I asked that, and that's not putting anything on Daniel or you, it's just I know damn well, for me, like just knowing how intense he is about his music in a really good way. If it was up to me, where it was like, because as a musician, for me, I'm fine to dick around with my own stuff, but to try to pull off something at the level that he does with the accuracy and perfection that he sort of demands, I don't know that I'd be able to even sort of get through a practice session.
I think I enjoyed that though, maybe coming from the classical world, because in the classical world you're going after the perfection, right? So you want to like nail everything. That like you don't want to fret buzz, you don't want a thing, you want nothing of that nature in your playing, because that's like really bad in the classical world, right? In the punk rock and roll world, not so bad, but I think Daniel's more in that classical sense that we're trying to really recreate the album live when we were working on stuff. So we would run stuff a lot just to get it right, and I was okay with that because it's very similar practice that I've been used to. What was
the tour experience like? Because that was your first time out, right?
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah,
super fun. It's amazing that you could put guys, on a bus and go across the country, and like I knew Dave and Jay, but even Daniel and the other guys, like we just really got to know each other, and then we're were out living
Suddenly
together
there,
and touring.
right?
So, but I mean, we got along great, and then it was a great experience. And then, playing arenas all of a sudden was pretty awesome. Yeah, it's kind of a giant rush.
What were the sorts of venues you were playing before you jumped on that tour?
Oh, just the rock club scene, right? So
Right.
it went from the rock club scene to, I think even playing a show in London at the embassy, doing the embassy show, like I would have played there before, but then this time we played there and it was lots of people, so a very different experience. And then going from that to, El Macombo and being very full in Toronto, and then after that, playing some bigger the arenas and stuff.
What did you take away from that experience?
Well, it was cool because we toured with Our Lady Peace. So I think the thing that was the best thing to see is just how those guys work too, right? And they've been at it for so long and they're so huge, and just seeing like what they put into it and what it takes to kind of be at that level, and what like a show looks like behind the scenes at that level day in and day out, and how many people are involved.
What surprised you the most about all of that?
I don't know. Maybe just like how, I guess the facade of rock and roll, like when you're looking from, when you're looking from the outside in and you're looking at the stage and the whole thing, there's something that's the draw and that's the lure for rock and roll, right? You're looking at this thing and how can this be real? And this is bigger than life. And right. That's the whole idea, right? So then being on the other side, just seeing how it's really just like a well-oiled machine of, I mean, just like organization of day in, day out. This is when this happens. This is when this happens. And this is, and then you get to go have your fun on stage. But there's a lot of things going on that make that moment on stage even possible. So I think that was probably the biggest takeaway. Yeah.
How long did it take you to get used to all of the people it requires?
You get to know them like so fast.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I still remember, like Hutch was the tour manager. Like it's still like, you just get to know those people. Mm-hmm. So you get used to all those people being around, and then you see the same people for like a month.
Right.
And a lot of times you're pulling into a city and then you're going into the venue, and then you might go somewhere, but you're really just around the venue and in one night and gone again. So you really you're hanging out with those same people. You're
stuck there, pretty much.
So you get to know them.
Get along or you're fucked.
Yeah. Well, you realize that too, right? It's a small world, so like you're all in it together. And
how long were you guys out for? Just a month?
Month, yeah.
So you come back. When did the Dyadics get together? Because you guys have been around for a while, right?
Yeah, like 2010.
When it starts. Yeah. Oh, okay, 2010. I thought you were going to say 20-something. Well, you start with 20-something years. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's been a while.
Not that long. Like 2010, I think. Yeah, I think that's when it started. But it was just more like...
well, you and Matt already knew each other, right?
We knew each other, but then we hadn't played because I think Neverending White Lights was doing stuff. So I think we got together and we wanted to just jam with a bass player and just have a trio. I think we just jammed, and I had some originals, and there was no plans, I don't think, to do something more with it other than just kind of jam. Like maybe we cloud talked the idea. Like Matt has a better memory than I do, so he'd be able to fill in the gaps.
Sure.
But bass player never showed up.
Okay.
So it was just Matt and I. And I just wanted to play some guitar solos, right? So it was fine when we were jamming because he was drumming and I was playing rhythm guitar and whatever, that works, right? And I can sing and that's fine. But then when it came to solo time, like I'm not just soloing in drums doesn't work.
Right.
So Matt said, I got a rolling pad. I can hit some roots like while you solo, so at least it fills out the sound. And I said, sure, that sounds good. So he started hitting roots, and then it turned into like, hey, well, maybe you can play like this little thing, and then over time, the bass line started coming out like through the pad while he's like playing them live and drumming with the other hand. And then since 2010, he just keeps getting better and better at it. So now I just like give him like it's interesting because writing has to be within 8 notes, right? Because you can only program 8 notes on it. So my writing has to be in a certain way. And if I wanted to play some kind of riff, that riff basically,
it has to be within that
box
or
something. So it kind of limits your creativity, but makes you like think about it differently than just pumping out the 4-piece rock tunes. You know?
It's so interesting that you put it that way, because I often find it's with music or with any art, it's the way you confine it that sort of makes it what it is.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense. Like if you have no limitations whatsoever, you'd probably just turn out trash.
And it's the people that you're with too, right? Like if you take one person out of like a successful band, it probably changes that writing style if they're writing like as a band.
If they're writing as a group.
Like I think like, you know, if Matt couldn't do this anymore, and we've tried tracking in the studio even, we've tried tracking with like real bass and drums, and it didn't sound like the Dyadics anymore. So we don't do that. It's like that we track it like we play it.
I love that it came out naturally though, like because I think a lot of times, especially maybe not so much now, because we seem to be in an era that is more accepting of like electronic music as a musical art form. But I think the big criticism that you get from a lot of people when you add something like that is that it feels manufactured.
Right.
And the
like
fact
gimmick,
that, yeah, where the fact it comes out of you guys like simply because, well, a fucking asshole didn't show up.
It just worked out that way, and then over time it's evolved.
So the two of you just getting together, how did the girls get to be involved as well?
So Matt and I did the first record, and it was just us, and then we did an EP, and then the last record, we had the girls. So we did the EP, and Dead and Gone is on the EP. And Michelle was working with his producer at the time, and the producer got in touch with Matt and said, "Can we want to do like a remix of that Dead and Gone tune?" So Michelle was going to do the remix of it with this producer. And then we ran into each other at a show, and we hadn't even met yet. And she's like, "Yeah, I think I did the remix of your tune." And then so we met. And then Jane and I playing the Marrieds together, we were out at a show, and Michelle came out to that show after the fact and then said, "Hey, we should start doing something together." So they, I think I'm jumping ahead, but they got together and started doing the Cedar Sisters stuff.
Okay.
But the third record, like the record after Dead and Gone, so Michelle had already sang the remix. They each sang some vocals on that record. And then when we played that stuff out live, they started singing the live stuff too. Okay. And then with this record, it was just like, this is what we're going to do. And it just made sense to have the four of us. And there's, like when I wrote parts with the girls in mind. Like this is definitely...
It's a really interesting dynamic because it almost feels like a mix of like the Black Keys with like something out of the 50s.
Oh, that's cool because I love the 60s, like the soul stuff, you know?
Yeah.
I love that stuff. Or the 50s, like I know what you're saying.
I probably fucked up the era, but it's like the Pointer Sisters kind of thing, right. or the era when, you know, that you'd have the guy up front in the background, you know what I mean? But they hold way more to the song than just like, oh, these are the background girls.
Yeah, it's just not ooh and stuff.
Yeah.
It's a different way. I mean, I love that stuff, but it's definitely like, adds that whole other element to it. And then the nice part is a lot of the older tunes and stuff we've been stacking, like Jane's a harmony queen, so the harmonies that are coming out and just filling out the choruses and fattening everything up just brings whole new life to the old tunes too, so it's just fun. Plus they love to just have a really good time at shows and stuff, so it brings that like party vibe, which is great because I tend to just be in my own zone doing my guitar thing, you know, so they bring the party.
Well, you've got a lot to do while you're up there because like the one thing that, and I mean you'll see it on the video, but like you guys showed up with full on light show, all that other stuff. Half the time you've got a double neck guitar in your hands.
Yeah,
that's always interesting. There's only two guys that I know that take a double neck guitar seriously, and you guys got to be motherfuckers on the guitar to pull that shit off. There's a lot going on there.
It's fun. It's an excellent toy.
Does it come because I assume because the only other person that I know that plays it regular is Nathan Schiller. I don't know if you know Nathan or not. He was in Nathan McNevin and the I'm gonna screw it up. Sorry guys, but they're not together anyway. But Nathan is like serious guitar player, like toured all over the place. Like he's done a bunch, and he's probably the guy that I've seen sort of like take guitar the most seriously. Like when you see Nathan in the guitar, you go, oh, like he might not live if he doesn't have that thing in his hands.
Right, that's cool.
Right, he's one of those guys, but it takes so much to figure out, like, is it just boredom because you got bored with the one guitar? Like,
I think it was just I've always liked white guitars, to be honest. So then that was like the ultimate white guitar, And then after that, it just became fun. And then to write on it, same thing, right? It just kind of opens up a different way of thinking.
Explain, because I don't fully, but explain what's happening there. Like, why the two different necks?
Different sounds, and then like the one neck is a 12-string, the other one's a 6-string. Yeah. So the 12-string, like I found, the best compliment I ever got is like after a show, a seasoned listener in the room came up after and said, "Yeah, that 12-string, it doesn't even sound like a 12-string when you play it." I'm like, "Thank you." Like I love that, because I was like, I liked what that I was doing didn't sound like, Stairway to Heaven or something, right? So I try to just make it sound different. The cool part is when I work it through all the stuff I'm using, it just starts to sound like not like a single, string guitar with everything doubled. It just has a whole different sound to it. And then it gives me the ability to like jump down to 6 to like, solo and stuff like that.
How much of it, because like you guys you guys fuck with tech a lot.
Yeah.
Right? Because aren't you, am I correct? You're using two or three separate amps.
I had a third and blew it up, so I got two now.
Okay, yeah. So you're using two separate amps, and you're splitting both guitars through that, or just one goes? Well, because you're not always even on the double neck.
No, they both go through it, and then I just run different sounds through it.
So you're layering on top of each other, or you're just switching out?
Yeah, it's like I always like it because I think like if I played a single amp, it only has like one sound, and then with only being the two of us. Like when we go in the studio, we layer guitar parts, just to get a very fat sound. So then when I used to bring 3 amps out, I used to just have that. Every amp had a different speaker and a different setup. And then when you put it all together as one big giant fat chord,
right,
which sounded huge. There's a lot of carrying of gear, but the chord sounded great. So it's just that kind of thing of just layering this different sounds. And Matt's like really good at that stuff in the studio, of really tweaking that stuff and really making the whole thing like crisp and gel together and get that dirty guitar thing going on.
How much of your classical background do you apply to this stuff?
Sometimes like it depends on the song. Sometimes I like to think about it, but then I like to know that I think about it, and then I like to kind of like then not use it or purposely like do something that wouldn't be like typical or normal. Yeah. So something that might not.
When it feels like it's starting to go into a direction that's familiar, that you start going, "No, fuck this."
Yeah. That's not. Yeah, I try to go a little different. But then there's things where like that kind of training. Obviously, there's certain elements of that obviously influence me.
Mm.
Yeah. But I just try to like it. Yeah, I never wanted to sound like just typical classical stuff. But there's such cool, like especially Spanish nylon string guitar. There's such good stuff that easily seeps into my playing.
How much of that is like, because a lot when you talk about the Spanish nylon stuff, the style isn't dependent on like the nylon strings or whatever, but that specific tone definitely is. Do you like, because you're not breaking out nylon strings for
no, and that wouldn't work for us. I think just more like there's some tunes on the first record that have more of like a finger picking kind of style stuff, but in a dirty kind of way. So maybe that's where the crossover is.
Do you think about it that way at all? Like when as you're writing, or is it more just kind of like?
Whenever I write, it's more like I just find like a cool thing. Like I'm always like noodling or just playing something, and I think it just sounds neat. It usually starts with a guitar seed. Or like sometimes it might start with like a vocal thing, but I'm not sitting down to write a song. I never like sit down to write a song.
Okay.
I've tried to do that, and then those songs sound very contrived to me and very put together, and they sound like I'm thinking.
Okay.
And I think a lot. So for me, I really have to get to a point where I like can let go. And then I can get to a point where is
that a thing you can actually do though, or is that a thing that you just sort of convince yourself, eventually we'll get there?
Well, I can do it, but if I try to write and I'm thinking about it, then it's never good.
No,
it's always just very like if I can plant a seed, like have a little idea and put it on my phone now or whatever, and then come back to it, like I can rework it, and that's okay. But if I just sit down and say I'm going to write something, then it always just sounds very like, and then I should go to this chord, and then I should go to, and then I never love it after.
I hate these kinds of questions, but I'm actually interested about this with you. But I want to know about your process. I want to know because you don't, like you said, you don't kind of just sit down with the intention to write. But do you woodshed? Do you sort of like what do you do?
I think it's just a jamming thing. Like I'll sit down with my guitar and just play stuff. Yeah, and it's never an idea to write, but I might get something like stuck in my head. It could be like a rhythm. Usually it's a rhythm or a groove.
Yeah.
And then I'm writing inside that groove or that tempo or that kind of feel. And I'm trying to get something to, like a riff or something that'll kind of get that feel going. Do you make
that just a regular part of your day to day? Like do you
No, I'm definitely just let things happen.
Okay.
Yeah, I try. So it takes a while sometimes, but I try not to force it. So if something comes to me, then I jump on it. And then I'm like, okay, let's follow it. You know?
How focused do you get? Do you end up ignoring other shit when it comes?
For sure. Yeah. And it could be the middle of the night or whatever, and then you just come up with something and you just follow that. And then it might be good or it might not. But then that's like, and it usually happens when you have somewhere to go, like where you can't spend an eternity. I find for me anyway, like if I have somewhere where I need to be, that's when that idea something will come up, and I'll have to like try to get something out before I can go do something. Yeah, you know, it's that kind of thing. If I have all the time in the world, it's like, it just can't force it.
What's the plan with the band? Like, are you guys looking to move it forward, or is it just kind of you're working on it? And
well, the plan is just to play a lot more. I think the last few records we just didn't play that much. We were so busy with other things, and the Marrieds were very busy. So we were doing that stuff musically. So this one we just want to get out and play. Yeah. Just do a lot more shows, and we've made a couple videos. We're making another video, and just really trying to put it out there more, and just trying to like bring the rock to the people, you know.
Well, I mean, because you've been on that like the giant tour thing, right? Yeah. Like you've seen what is required to put that together. Is that a thing that you're moving towards, or?
I think it has to. That would be more of a leap to get into that. I think right now it's just really about playing. I mean, really, that would mean like we'd have to be 100% like only doing that.
Right.
So I'm a little realistic with, you get out of things what you put into them, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So it's a little right now. It's very much just like going out and trying to do some groundwork.
It's not just a side project, but there's other things that need to be sort of addressed, right?
Yeah.
Talk to me about how you manage that part of it, because I think there's a lot of people in that spot. I think there's a lot of people that are trying to sort of like put a career together in the arts, but have like fucking life they have to deal with.
It's tough. Like there's just no sleeping sometimes, and then we're constantly going, especially with like the other projects too. So it's just like constantly doing things.
You seem like a guy that doesn't say no to much.
I don't, because I feel like it closes doors,
Mm-hmm.
And I'm also very open to new experiences. So it's like if I feel like if I say no to something, then I kind of wonder like what if? Not like what will that get me or that, but that's an experience that I just turned down in my life.
What would I miss?
Yeah, well, or just like if I said no to something, then you don't meet those people, or you don't have those conversations. You don't know what conversations you're going to have with somebody. Or
have you gotten? Was that ever a problem for you?
Not like saying no?
Yeah.
It gets over, like sometimes it does. Sometimes it's just kind of you say it, and then you're trying to figure out how am I going to do all these things.
Like starting a teaching career and a tour all at the same fucking time?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. But then I enjoy everything. That's the thing too, right? I think I was raised to like you make the best out of everything, and you put everything you got into things, and you finish what you started, and those types of things, so I feel like when I get into something, I need to do a good job at it.
But
I don't want to just do mediocre stuff.
But when you say yes to everything, it becomes pretty difficult to.
It's difficult, and that's why I think the sleep takes the backseat a lot of times. It is very hard to do everything well, which is I think why I'm realistic about if I don't dedicate 100% of my time to Dyadics, I'm realistic about like why you can only get so much then,
So that being said, then what does success look like for you?
I think I just want people to connect, and I like to connect with people. So like going out to shows and having experiences and sharing those experiences with people. It doesn't mean necessarily to go like, play an arena. Like if we played a place and everybody, like we just did a release show and there's, 250 people there. And that was a great night. And everybody that was there had a great time, and then the conversations after and even the messages that you get after. That to me is great. Now, if that was like more consistent, that would be better. Yeah. Right. But I think success is really just feeling good about what I'm doing and enjoying those moments on stage, and that's it.
How's it been working out for you so far?
So far, so good. Most of the time.
Right.
Sometimes, harder to find, the positives sometimes.
Do you struggle with it sometimes? Like, if you have those days or whatever when it's,
For sure, yeah.
It still kind of drags you out a little bit?
Yeah.
Talk to me about that.
Definitely. Well, I think everybody gets
You're a fucking perfectionist.
I am.
Aren't you?
I am.
Yeah. I hit 3 wrong notes tonight that nobody fucking cared about, so I can't enjoy the entire night.
Well, and I've gotten better at that.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Talk to me about trying to figure that part out.
Well, it became, like, it gets to the point where sometimes you go out and play a show and people are coming up and they're telling you how great it was, or I love how you did, I love this or that, and you just don't believe them. You're just thinking they're just telling you that, and then you're not finding the joy in that moment. So you're going and you're playing, you put all this effort, you do all this stuff, you missed a couple notes and nobody even noticed. And then it just kills the night for you. So I just slowly over time, not that I want to make mistakes, but things happen. Mm-hmm. Right? So just trying to accept that, like, okay, it's going to happen, but don't let it, like, dominate my night. But, it's easier said than done. Even sometimes now, like, especially if it's, like, a really good, like, I don't know, you just don't want to miss, like, a good moment on stage. And if it's because of, some stupid reason, like you messed something up, it's just, like, it's more frustrating than anything.
I think it's more important than that, especially if you're saying what you want to do is connect with people. Yeah. The hard lesson for me to learn, and I mean, a different level entirely, a different thing entirely, but when somebody comes up to you and tells you what a great job you did, and your reaction is, oh, no, it wasn't, make them feel like an asshole.
100%. Yeah, you make them feel like you're crazy if you thought that was good. I know, but I never did that, though.
You just internalized it all?
100%. I just, thanks so much.
Took me a while to learn that one. I was like,
no. Yeah. No, because it's, if they really enjoyed it, then that's robbing them of that experience. So it's just like, I never, or at least tried never to do that. I can't say for sure that I never did that. Who knows?
Comment section.
Yeah, I know. But no, it was always more like, it's a compliment still, so you say thank you. And
then just internalize it and be sad in the corner.
And I drive home, I'm like, Yeah, and that's about it, yeah.
Dude, it was a pleasure getting to know you. Like I said, I'm a big fan of the music. We'll have a music video coming out at the end of the week when this releases, and can't wait to see what else comes. I know Daniel's got some stuff kind of percolating in the background too, so I'm sure we'll see you attached to all of that as well.
Yeah, sounds good.
As usual, you can look below in the description for all of the links to Kevin and us and all of our sponsors, I should say. And we've got some videos coming up. You can click on those, see the other things we do. We'll see you next week. That'll do it for this episode of the ABB Podcast. Don't forget you can subscribe to our full audio episodes on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere you find your audio podcasts. The full episodes, highlights, and our live off-the-floor performance videos can be found at our YouTube channel, and you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram at the AVB Podcast. Of course, you'll find links to our incredible sponsors and this week's guest in the description below. The AVB Podcast is part of the Border City Network. Find more great content at bordercitynetwork.com. See you next time, folks. Bye-bye.